Good morning, everyone. 411 Business. And today we have Dr. Ronald Drucker, and he is here to tell us about this amazing 30 system test. Dr. Drucker, give us a little bit about the test.
Well, what happened was about 5 years ago, I had a friend of mine, a real nice gal. She works in holistic health, and she invited me over to get this test done. And she ran the test on me, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. It's so accurate, and it's got so much information. So I immediately went out and got myself two of them, actually. Uh, just wanted to make sure I had a backup. And I actually got a newer model than the one she had, a newer version. And it's just amazing. I call it my 30 systems test. So what happens is it tests you for every vitamin, every mineral, toxic metals like lead, mercury, aluminum, cadmium, arsenic, etc., pesticide residues, the functions of all your organs, your liver, your kidneys, your heart, your brain, your lungs, even your immune system. It can tell you whether you're osteoporotic. It can tell you whether you have a fatty liver. It's amazing. And it's over 300 data points, and it's very accurate, very reproducible, because we run it like on a patient, and then the next day we ran it again. It gave us the same values, because to change these things takes a little time. Most of the time, people need to detox because we live in a very toxic world. You know that we're exposed to over 100,000 chemicals that didn't even exist 100 years ago,
I
and
believe.
most of them since World War II. And these toxins are slowing you down. They can cause depression. They can cause cancer. They can cause all kinds of problems. So anyway, we want to detox people, and this shows us, gives us, what they actually needed to detox from. And then people are lacking nutrients. They're lacking vitamins and minerals. Sometimes their diet's not right, whatever the case may be. Their lifestyle may be interfering with their health. So it's both preventative and curative. It's really amazing.
So let's go ahead, Dr. Drucker, and go into the video that explains it even more.
Okay, great. I have been using a diagnostic piece of equipment that I call my 30 systems test for a few years now. I've done a number of hundreds of tests and found it to be extremely accurate, very thorough, and very helpful in the areas of prevention or treatment. For example, the test, which is called the magnetic resonance analyzer, which actually uses electrical frequencies to determine its values. It tests for, among many other things, every vitamin, every mineral, toxic metals such as aluminum, mercury, cadmium, arsenic, etc., pesticide residues, the functions of every organ in your body, the liver, the kidneys, the heart, the lungs, the brain, the immune system. It can pick up osteoporosis. It'll pick up many, many, many conditions. And when you put all this information together, by the way, there's over 300 data points that are collected. And when you put all that information together, I produce a practical summary, which I email to anyone who takes the test, explaining to them exactly what they must do, whether it's a lifestyle change, exercise, diet, nutrition, detoxification, whatever the case may be. And it has so much information that you would have to spend probably in excess of $100,000 going to I don't know how many different hospitals to try to get all this information. In fact, I believe that the vast majority of medical facilities wouldn't even run a lot of these tests. So I just want to say that the 30 systems test, which is based on electrical frequencies, let me explain what that means. You know how an opera singer can shatter a wine glass with her voice? That's because her voice hits the exact resonance frequency of the wine glass, and the wine glass shatters. But the truth is, everything in the world has a resonance frequency. DNA has a resonance frequency. A toxic metal like lead, mercury, cadmium, aluminum, they all have their own resonance frequencies. Every vitamin, every nutritional mineral, even organs have their own resonance frequencies. And this is the basis of the test. And because the software has been developed now for many, many decades, started in Russia, went to Austria, Germany, and Europe, it's not that common in the United States because, unfortunately, the United States has an FDA, and we have an AMA, and we have a very corrupt medical system that is designed not to determine the actual causes of disease or how to prevent disease, but rather just to treat symptoms by and large, except for medical emergencies where they can save your life. But anyone suffering from any chronic condition or anyone who wants to prevent chronic degenerative disease, this test is absolutely fantastic. So again, anyone that is interested, give me a call, 954-547-0487. That's 954-547-0487. Or you can text me at that number, and you can visit my websites. One is healtherootcause.com. That's healtherootcause.com. The other one is drronpdrucker.com. That's drronpdrucker.com. And the third one is lifesavingformulas.com. That's lifesavingformulas, plural.com.
All right. That sounds amazing, Dr. Drucker. I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, thanks. Well, like I say, I've invited you to come over and take the test yourself sometime. But I wanted to say just a couple other things. I know that video was made actually quite a while ago. And I left out two really important websites. So I'd like to give the audience that now. One is dynamicmedicine.solutions. That's dynamicmedicine.solutions. And the other one is Holistic Lives, HOLISTICLIVES.org, holisticlives.org. And of course, my number again is 954-547-0487. That's 954-547-0487. And I'm happy to speak with anyone who has any health concern. It doesn't have to be about the test. Maybe you've been to the doctor and they're giving you some medication, you're not real happy, or you're not doing as well as you should, or maybe you have some bad side effects. You can give me a call. I'm more than happy to speak with you on the phone.
So, Dr. Drucker, let's talk a little bit about the test. Let's say that I'm a diabetic and I'm having extensive problems, with my circulation, a hard time walking. And I come into your office and to see you. When I take the test, how long does it take for you to get the results back? And then what would be the treatment plan for something like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. Well, the test results, the patient sees right away. I go over them right there with them in person. It takes about an hour, right in person. And we go over every field. And then what I do is I have them take notes on the, let's say, most pertinent or most practical aspects of the test. In other words, there's so much data there. You couldn't take a note on every little itsy bit of data. But the really important things, the most practical applications, that's what we focus on, so that the person really has it's a relatively simple but very complete picture of what they have to do to improve their health or to reverse chronic illness. So, for example, with a diabetic, they're usually going to have abnormally high blood sugars. They're going to have something called insulin resistance. Type 2 diabetes is called insulin resistance diabetes. They may have an erratic blood sugar. They may have trouble, monitoring and balancing out their blood sugar. So there's a couple of different types of diabetes, of course. Do you know, by the way, that Alzheimer's, you know what the new name for Alzheimer's is?
What?
It's type 3 autoimmune brain diabetes. Type 3 autoimmune brain diabetes. You can look it up. They now recognize that diabetes is a very strong risk factor for Alzheimer's disease, high blood sugar. Not to mention the fact that high blood sugar, it contributes to everything. It's a leading cause of blindness in the United States, leading cause of amputations. How about neuropathies? If you foot neuropathy, you can trip and fall and really hurt yourself. So there's all kinds of bad side effects. Cardiovascular diseases increase with diabetes. See, this is what people don't realize. And the doctors, unfortunately, they won't tell you the scientific truth about it. So first of all, you must increase insulin sensitivity, which we can do. There's 3 or 4 things we can do. Absolutely increases your insulin sensitivity. What that means is that even if your body's not making enough insulin, it's going to use whatever you are making very efficiently, and your blood sugar is going to come down without drugs. Now, that doesn't mean you can't take your drugs until you don't need them anymore. You can use my program as a crutch to get off your drugs. And I don't tell people to stop taking their drugs, but if you don't need them, why would you take them? So anyway, the point is, so we increase the insulin sensitivity, and we also, we just make the efficiency of the insulin greater. But this is what they don't tell you about insulin. So insulin, as everybody I think knows, transports blood sugar called glucose from the blood into the cells, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what they're not telling you is that insulin facilitates the transport of all your nutrients from the blood into the cells. Why do you think the person's getting retinitis or losing their vision? Because the retina is starving to death. Why are they getting neuropathy? Because the nerves are starving to death, because the insulin isn't working properly. See? So most of the ill effects or the downstream effects of diabetes really comes from the starvation of the tissues for these essential nutrients. And of course, we can reverse that by increasing insulin sensitivity. And then the body gets all the nutrients it needs. So we'll also give them some nutritional advice and some lifestyle advice. There's many things. For example, there's certain types of exercises that are better for diabetics than, let's say like a marathon runner, for example, or somebody.
When I come into your office, you said the test takes about an hour, correct?
Yeah, approximately. Yeah.
Okay, and then after we go, once we get the results, when you say the test, what is the test like when you're testing?
Well, all you have to do, you just hold on to a metal probe, just in one hand, and you just relax, and then the machine does its calculations, and then the results pop up on the screen, and then I explain how we grade it, and how there's normal, and there's slightly low and slightly high and moderately and severely, whatever. And then I explain, for example, some tests in a child, I'll give you an example. It's called alkaline phosphatase. Alkaline phosphatase is a blood enzyme that is high when you have bone growth. Well, in a child, you expect that result to be high, but in an adult, you don't want it to be high because you're through growing your bones, right? Mm-hmm. See, it could indicate a disease. So I have to interpret this, but because I've been in healthcare for 55 years, and I've done diagnostics and medical research and worked in hospitals and teach doctors diagnosis. So I add this layer of knowledge to the test results. So see, the whole thing is anybody can run the test, but it's the interpretation that really counts.
So
what is all this data?
When you go have like an ultrasound, is it that kind?
Well, you go to get an ultrasound, there's a tech there, and they'll get the ultrasound, and then the doctor will look at it and they'll send you a report. But this is so much more comprehensive than any ultrasound. And not only that, but when I'm done, right in the office explaining everything, and the person took their notes, I then take those notes and I produce an email over the next couple of days that I send out to you, fleshing everything out in paragraph form. Any lifestyle changes or dietary changes or any supplements you might need or how to detox or whatever the case may be. It's very thorough. And then, of course, after the test, and I think this is something nobody else does, is I'll give you my cell phone. And after you've done the test, you can call me anytime. There's no charge for follow-ups, for a telephone follow-up. Now, if you come into the office, of course, I have to charge you for an office visit or whatever we do. But the point is, on the phone, see, my job is to get you better. And that's why if you go to my website, for one of them, healtherootcause.com, for example, healtherootcause.com, you'll see dozens and dozens of videos on people that got better from supposed diseases that really they're not incurable. Now, if you only take drugs, yeah, they're incurable. You can treat symptoms, but you can't really cure things with drugs. You know, drugs aren't really preventative. When you think you have a headache, is it an aspirin deficiency? I mean, come on, it's nonsense. It's not nonsense in an emergency. If you have a terribly high blood pressure, you need something to lower it. If you have an infected appendix and it's about to explode, you darn better get surgery. I'm not opposed to medicine that works. I'm opposed to medicine that ultimately makes you worse, really, and it doesn't cure anything.
So when I come in and now I've taken the test, we've went over the results, and because I have diabetes, what are some of the first steps that we're going to take or that you're going to instruct me to take?
Okay, yes, right. That's a good question too. So what we do is, first of all, let me give you an example. So people have different blood types, like yes. O, B, A, B, right? So depending on your blood type and other genetic factors, for example, let me give you an example. Let's say a Eskimo walks into your office. Now, this Eskimo, this fellow, he's about 5'4". He's about 200 pounds, strong as an ox, big round face, beautiful, strong teeth, and he's a musculoskeletal system is incredibly powerful. And he lives in a very harsh environment. He eats meat and blubber and fish, and maybe if he's lucky, he gets some berries for 2 weeks in the summer if he's lucky. He melts ice for water. I mean, it's a very harsh environment. But he's adapted genetically to that harsh environment. They don't have fresh fruits and vegetables up there, but somehow he survives. Now, people say, well, he's a human being. How does he get vitamin C? Well, he gets vitamin C because when he kills his animals, he eats the adrenal glands of the animals raw, and the animal is making the vitamin C. See what I mean? From these organs. So anyway, but the point is he's adapted. So now he's very strong. He comes into your office and he has some complaints. So, you do an exam, take a history, run some tests. Tests come back. You look at the results. And then you're going to give him a report of findings. What does he have to do to help himself, right? Well, let's say the next patient that comes in is the Swami Satchidananda from southern India. Well, this fellow is very different than the Eskimo. He lives in a very hot, dry climate. His blood type is probably type A. The Eskimo is type O. He's tall and slender. He's about 5'10". He weighs about 140 pounds. He's a strict vegetarian, right? And by their religion, these people are vegetarian. Imagine if you switched the diets on those two people. You'd kill them both. I tell you what diseases they die from before they die. Okay? You see? So we're all individuals. So I individualize it. I base it on blood type, heritage. If someone comes in and they have red hair and green eyes, or blonde hair and blue eyes, this person has a Northern European genetics, right? They had to come from Scandinavia or Northern Europe or something like some cold climate, right? If they come in and they have, olive skin and black hair and dark eye, their ancestors came from a southern warm climate, right? And it's not rocket science. It's really just commonsensical. So I'm going to customize the program to the person based on their blood type, based on the test results, based on what their heritage is, you see, and whatever else I can figure out. I do a history and an exam, whatever the case may be. And I do a thorough test. I do a neurological, orthopedic, musculoskeletal, and organ exam. And people routinely tell me, they say, how do you know that? How come nobody else ran that test? Why didn't my doctor tell me this? Blah, 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 right? Because they didn't do the test and they didn't take a thorough history. You go to the doctor, how long do they spend with you? 6 minutes, right? Roughly.
If you're lucky.
And the Iron Maiden at the front desk is more concerned about your insurance than you, right? Then you finally get to see the doctor. You probably have to wait for the appointment. Then you finally get to see for 6 minutes, and the doctor's more interested in filling out the computer form than doing a thorough exam with you. They're not touching you and prodding you and checking you. They're not doing these things anyway. They don't even do orthopedic tests anymore. What about a neurological test? Unless you go to a neuro or an ortho. But even there, they're not doing a thorough a thorough exam as I do. Now, yes, a specialist, a good one, may do a more thorough neurological exam than I do, but I'm also doing orthopedic and organ exams and other different tests that I've learned over the years. I mean, I can determine things like adrenal insufficiency basically just by talking to you and looking at you. I don't even need a test for that, although the 30 system test will support that finding. See, this is all based on experience. If people have to go to another doctor, I say, look, this is what I want you to do. Find the best one you can find. Go to somebody who's elderly, at least 60 years old, 60, 70, 80. They have a lot of experience, right? Find somebody who's associated with a university hospital, teaching hospital, and go to the chief of staff. This person knows what is going to know more than the average doctor, right? Don't go to any Tom, Dick, Harry, Mary, or Sue, And I tell people to fire their doctors quite often because all they're doing is pushing dangerous drugs that'll never cure them. They don't even have a proper diagnosis half the time. I mean, the state of healthcare in America is really sad. It's pitiful. So I try to do everything I can to reverse that. I know I've gone a little far afield, and I apologize, but I have to get this off my chest,
No, absolutely. I love it. And I'm sure everyone listening does too. So if someone has cancer, and they find out they have cancer and they come in, would this kind of test give them more information on how to treat the cancer?
Well, okay. So first of all, you have to realize I don't treat cancer. It's completely out of my purview. Now, can I tell the person how to improve their immune system or to detoxify, maybe lower the level of carcinogens, which are one of the major causes of cancer? Can I give them nutritional advice and health advice? Yes. I don't treat cancer. In fact, if you really think about it, you know what I'm doing? I'm basically helping the best doctor in the world, your immune system, to do a better job. Let's face it, you cut your hand. Okay, some bacteria get in there, you're bleeding, you hurt, you damage little tissue. And without an immune system, you'd be dead in 3 days of a common infection from your skin. Okay? But with an immune system, these white cells called macrophages, they go in there and they gobble up the bacteria so you don't get a bad infection. And then other cells come in from the immune system called fibroblasts, and they lay down new connective tissue. And if you're lucky, a week later, you don't even have a scar. But without an immune system, you'd be dead in 3 days. But the same is true of everything. What about a common cold? What about pneumonia? What about any disease? I don't care what it is. It's ultimately the immune system is going to kill the last abnormal cell or bacteria or a virus or whatever the case may be. Without a functioning immune system, you're vulnerable to every disease under the sun, moon, and stars. But if you have a strong immune system, which is what I help you to get, you're very hard to kill, let me tell you.
Well, there you have it, guys. 411 Business today with Dr. Drucker. Now, Dr. Drucker, tell us again, how does anyone who is listening right now or get in touch with you?
Well, the best thing to do is just to give me a call or a text, 954-547-0487. That's 954-547-0487. You can certainly visit my websites, dynamicmedicine.solutions, holisticlives.org, HOLISTIC lives.org. You can also go to healtherootcause.com. You can also go to drronpdrucker.com. The reason I have all these websites, oh, by the way, I wrote a book, In fact, I got my second book coming out. The first book was entitled The Code of Life, because I discovered a biochemical code that actually helps the immune system to communicate with the other cells of the body and prevents disease and probably helps you to live longer and all kinds of wonderful things. And it's written for the public. It's not written for scientists and doctors and people, a lot of Greek words, although I use some, but I always define them right in the text. So, so that you understand. And then my new book is called How to Heal the Immune System, which is terribly important, especially in these times now. We have these crazy new diseases and these bioweapons coming out and all the crazy things that are happening. I also have a protocol called my COVID spike protein protection plan for people that have long COVID, or maybe they had a bad reaction like to the flu or something like that, whatever the case may be. And, let me tell you, this body's very regenerative. You treat it right, and it's going to do its darndest to get you better. And that's what I've been studying for the last 55 years. I was doing cancer research. I was 19 in a teaching hospital, and I was doing medical diagnostics. In fact, I actually teach a course to other doctors called Laboratory and Differential Diagnosis, because I love diagnosis. But anyway, the point is, I'm really a healthcare coach. I'm really a healthcare source. Just call me 954-547-0487. I'm more than happy to speak with you with a health-related issue. There's no charge for a phone call. And, if I get you better and it's just on the phone, I would love to get a selfie video from you, like you'll see on my websites. That would be nice. But other than that, on the phone, there's no charge on the phone.
All right, 411, hit that like button and subscribe and stay tuned so you can hear more from Dr. Drucker. And if you have any information that you would like him, topics that you would like him to discuss, leave it in the comments below, and we'll definitely have a future discussion in regards to that. Thanks, Dr. Drucker.
Oh, thank you, Joan. It's always a pleasure.